First contact. The sleek silver spacecraft streaked across the night sky, trailing smoke and debris as it plummeted towards Earth. Inside, alarms blared and warning lights flashed as the lone pilot, Zax, struggled to maintain control. His slender blue fingers danced across the flickering control panel, desperately trying to stabilize the failing systems. Atmospheric entry unstable, hull integrity compromised. Crash imminent, the ship's AI intoned calmly. Zax gritted his teeth, his large black eyes widening with fear as the ground rushed up to meet him. He had come to this backwater planet on a routine scouting mission, not expecting to encounter any noteworthy civilization. But something had gone terribly wrong during his initial scans, overloading his ship's systems and sending him spiraling out of control. With a deafening roar, the ship smashed into a dense forest, carving a deep furrow through the trees before coming to rest in a smoking heap of twisted metal. The impact knocked Zax unconscious, his slight frame slumped over the control panel. Miles away, Sarah jolted awake in her cabin, startled by a bright flash and distant rumble. The young scientist had retreated to this remote location to conduct her research in peace, away from the bureaucracy and politics of academia. Curious, she grabbed a flashlight and ventured outside to investigate. As Sarah trekked through the shadowy woods, following the trail of broken branches and scorched earth, her heart raced with excitement and trepidation. Whatever had crashed was clearly not of terrestrial origin. This could be the discovery of a lifetime. Finally, she crested a small hill and gasped at the sight before her. The alien craft was unlike anything she had ever seen, its sleek lines and strange, shimmering metal clearly not of human design. Smoke rose from jagged rents in the hull as sparks danced across exposed circuitry. Cautiously, Sarah approached the wreck, her scientific curiosity overriding any fear. As she neared the ship, she noticed a section of the hull had been torn away, revealing the cockpit within. And there, slumped over a console covered in strange symbols, was an alien being. Sarah's breath caught in her throat as she took in the sight. The creature was humanoid, but clearly not human. Its skin was a pale blue, almost translucent, with a delicate, almost fragile appearance. A large, bulbous head housed enormous black eyes, currently closed. For a moment, Sarah hesitated. Should she call the authorities? But she knew what would happen if she did. The alien would be whisked away to some secret government facility, never to be seen again, and humanity would lose a precious opportunity for peaceful first contact. Decision made, Sarah carefully climbed into the wreckage. Up close, she could see the alien was injured, purple blood seeping from several wounds. With gentle hands, she checked for signs of life and was relieved to feel a faint pulse. "Don't worry," she whispered, though she knew the alien couldn't understand her. "I'll help you." With some effort, Sarah managed to extract the unconscious alien from the ship. She was surprised at how light it was, almost weightless in her arms. Cradling the injured being, she began the long trek back to her cabin. As the first rays of dawn began to lighten the sky, Sarah finally stumbled through her front door. She gently laid the alien on her bed, then set about tending to its wounds as best she could. Though its physiology was strange to her, she was able to clean and bandage the worst of the injuries. Hours passed as Sarah kept vigil by the alien's bedside. She knew she was taking an enormous risk, but she couldn't bring herself to abandon this helpless being. As a scientist, the opportunity to study an extraterrestrial life form was beyond her wildest dreams. But more than that, she felt a deep sense of responsibility to ensure peaceful first contact between their species. Finally, as afternoon sunlight streamed through the windows, the alien's large eyes fluttered open. It looked around in confusion before focusing on Sarah. She saw fear and uncertainty in those impossibly deep black orbs. "It's okay," Sarah said softly, holding up her hands in what she hoped was a universal gesture of peace. "You're safe. I want to help you." The alien blinked slowly, then opened its mouth to speak. But instead of words, a series of musical tones and clicks emerged. Sarah's eyes widened in fascination. Of course, their languages would be incompatible. This was going to be more challenging than she thought. Over the next few days, Sarah and the alien, who she learned was called Zax, began the painstaking process of learning to communicate. They started with simple gestures and drawings, gradually building a rudimentary shared vocabulary. Sarah learned that Zax was a scout from an advanced civilization, sent to assess Earth's development. His people had been observing humanity for centuries, waiting for them to reach a certain technological threshold before making contact. But something had gone wrong with Zax's instruments, causing his ship to malfunction and crash. In turn, Zax was amazed by what he learned about humans. Their resilience, their curiosity, their capacity for both great kindness and terrible cruelty. It was all so different from his own people. He found himself particularly fascinated by Sarah, by her willingness to risk everything to help him. As the days turned to weeks, a tentative friendship formed between the human and the alien. Sarah taught Zax about Earth's cultures and customs, while he shared tantalizing glimpses of advanced alien technology. They spent long nights stargazing, with Zax pointing out his distant homeworld. But even as their bond grew stronger, both Sarah and Zax knew that this idyllic interlude couldn't last forever. Sooner or later, the outside world would come calling. And when it did, everything would change. Hidden away. As the weeks turned into months, Sarah's remote cabin became a sanctuary for both her and Zax. Hidden away from the prying eyes of the world, they were free to explore the vast differences and surprising similarities between their species. Sarah marveled at Zax's advanced knowledge of astrophysics and quantum mechanics. His people had unlocked secrets of the universe that human scientists could only dream of. Yet in other ways, Zax seemed almost childlike in his wonder at the simplest aspects of Earth life. One crisp autumn morning, Sarah found Zax standing in her small garden, head tilted back, as he watched leaves drift down from the trees. His large eyes blinked slowly, taking in the riot of red and gold. "It's beautiful," Zax said softly, his grasp of English improving daily. "On my world, the plants do not change like this. Everything is always green." Sarah smiled, enjoying his wonder. "It's called autumn," she explained. "The trees go dormant for the winter, conserving energy until spring." Zax nodded thoughtfully. "Adaptation. Fascinating. Your world is so dynamic, always changing." As they walked back to the cabin, Sarah pondered the differences between their species. Zax's people had achieved incredible technological advancements, but they seemed to lack the diversity and adaptability of Earth life. Perhaps that was why they found humans so intriguing. Inside, Sarah set about making breakfast while Zax pored over her collection of books. He had an insatiable appetite for knowledge about Earth, devouring everything from history texts to trashy romance novels with equal enthusiasm. "I still do not understand why the characters in this story risk everything for love," Zax mused, holding up a well-worn paperback. "Is it truly such a powerful force for humans?" Sarah chuckled as she set a plate of scrambled eggs in front of him. Zax had developed quite a fondness for Earth cuisine. "Love can make people do crazy things," she said. "It's not always logical, but it's a fundamental part of the human experience." Zax's brow furrowed as he contemplated this. His own species reproduced through a careful process of genetic selection and artificial gestation. The concept of romantic love was utterly foreign to him. As they ate, Sarah's thoughts turned to the future. She knew they couldn't stay hidden forever. Sooner or later, someone would come looking for the crashed alien ship, and when they did, Zax would be in terrible danger. "We need to think about what comes next," she said quietly. "You can't stay here indefinitely. Your people must be looking for you." Zax set down his fork, his expression troubled. "My mission was secret," he admitted. "Only a few knew I was coming to Earth. They will not risk revealing themselves to search for me." Sarah's heart ached at the loneliness in his voice. "Then we need to find a way to contact them safely," she said, "or figure out how you can integrate into human society." The idea seemed absurd. How could an alien possibly blend in among humans? But as they discussed the possibilities, a plan began to take shape. With her scientific knowledge and his advanced technology, perhaps they could find a way to disguise Zax's alien features. Over the following weeks, they worked tirelessly on the problem. Sarah's background in bioengineering proved invaluable as they experimented with ways to alter Zax's appearance. His own nanite-infused body proved remarkably adaptable, able to shift and change in ways that defied human biology. Finally, after many failed attempts, they achieved success. With a combination of cutting-edge science and alien technology, Zax was able to take on a human appearance. His blue skin darkened to a warm brown, his large eyes shrinking to a more human size and shape. Even his alien voice box was altered to produce normal human speech. The first time Zax looked in a mirror after the transformation, he gasped in shock. "Is that truly me?" he asked, reaching up to touch his now human face. Sarah nodded, her own eyes wide with amazement. "It's incredible," she breathed. "You look completely human." With his new disguise in place, Zax was finally able to venture beyond the confines of the cabin. Sarah took him on carefully planned trips into the nearby town, teaching him how to interact with humans without arousing suspicion. At first, Zax was overwhelmed by the cacophony of human society. The noise, the crowds, the dizzying array of sights and smells. It was all so different from the sterile, orderly world he was used to. But as time passed, he found himself drawn to the vibrant chaos of human life. He marveled at the way humans constantly adapted and innovated, finding creative solutions to problems his own people would have solved with pure technology. The resilience and determination of these primitive beings astounded him. One day, as they sat in a small cafe, Zax watched a young child struggling to reach a toy on a high shelf. Instead of giving up, the child ingeniously stacked books to create a makeshift step stool. Zax shook his head in wonder. "Your species is so resourceful," he murmured to Sarah. "My people would have simply used anti-gravity technology. But this child found a solution with what was available. It's admirable." Sarah smiled, warmed by his growing appreciation for humanity. "We've had to be resourceful to survive," she said. "Humanity has faced countless challenges throughout our history. It's made us adaptable." As the days passed, Zax found himself becoming more and more comfortable in his human guise. He even began to make friends in town, particularly with a local librarian who was charmed by his insatiable curiosity. But even as Zax integrated into human society, the threat of discovery loomed. Sarah knew that sooner or later, someone would come looking for the crashed alien ship, and when they did, everything would change. Her fears were realized one crisp autumn morning. As she stepped outside to check the mail, Sarah noticed an unmarked black van parked at the end of her long driveway. Her heart raced as she saw two men in dark suits emerge, their expressions grim and determined. Sarah rushed back inside, her mind whirling. "Zax," she called out urgently. "We have to go, now." As Zax emerged from his room, confusion evident on his now human face, Sarah quickly explained the situation. They had prepared for this eventuality, packing go-bags with essentials and creating false identities. With practiced efficiency, they gathered their things and slipped out the back door. As they disappeared into the dense forest behind the cabin, Sarah cast one last glance back at the home that had been their sanctuary. She knew that nothing would ever be the same again. Hand in hand, the human scientist and the disguised alien vanished into the wilderness, leaving behind the peaceful life they had built. The true test of their bond, and of humanity's readiness for first contact, was about to begin. Pursuit. The dense forest canopy provided cover as Sarah and Zax moved swiftly through the underbrush, their hearts pounding with a mixture of fear and adrenaline. The sound of vehicles and shouting voices in the distance spurred them on, reminding them of the danger at their heels. Sarah's mind raced as she led the way, drawing on her knowledge of the local terrain. She had always valued her privacy, choosing this remote location for her research to avoid prying eyes. Now, that isolation worked in their favor, providing countless hiding places and escape routes. Zax followed close behind, his newly human body still somewhat awkward and unfamiliar. But the gravity of their situation lent him strength and coordination he didn't know he possessed. As they scrambled over fallen logs and waded through icy streams, he marveled at Sarah's resilience and determination. "How did they find us?" Zax whispered as they paused to catch their breath behind a large boulder. Sarah shook her head, her expression grim. "I don't know," she admitted. "Maybe they detected some energy signature from your ship, or picked up on our experiments with the cloaking technology. It doesn't matter now. We just need to stay ahead of them." As the day wore on, the sounds of pursuit grew fainter. But Sarah knew better than to let her guard down. These men, whoever they were, would not give up easily. The promise of alien technology and first contact was too alluring. As night fell, they found shelter in a small cave hidden behind a curtain of vines. Sarah built a small fire, careful to keep the smoke to a minimum. They ate energy bars from their go-bags in silence, both lost in thought. "I'm sorry," Zax said suddenly, his voice heavy with guilt. "I've brought this danger to you. If I had never crashed here." Sarah reached out, placing a comforting hand on his arm. "Don't apologize," she said firmly. "Meeting you has been the most incredible experience of my life. I don't regret a moment of it." Zax's eyes, now a warm brown instead of depthless black, searched her face. "You humans continue to amaze me," he said softly. "Your capacity for compassion, for self-sacrifice. It's unlike anything I've seen in my travels across the galaxy." As they settled in for the night, taking turns keeping watch, Sarah's mind turned to their next move. They couldn't keep running forever. Sooner or later, they would need allies, resources, and a plan. The next morning dawned cold and misty. Sarah and Zax set out early, moving carefully through the fog-shrouded forest. They had decided to make for the nearest town, hoping to lose themselves in the crowd and find a way to contact Sarah's few trusted friends in the scientific community. As they neared the outskirts of town, the forest began to thin. Sarah tensed, knowing they would be more exposed in open terrain. Suddenly, she heard the distinctive whir of helicopter blades in the distance. "Run," she hissed, grabbing Zax's hand and sprinting towards a nearby abandoned barn. They barely made it inside before the helicopter appeared overhead, its searchlight sweeping the ground. Sarah and Zax pressed themselves against the weathered wooden walls, scarcely daring to breathe. Minutes ticked by like hours as the helicopter circled overhead. Finally, mercifully, the sound began to recede. Sarah let out a shaky breath, realizing she had been clutching Zax's hand so tightly her knuckles were white. "That was too close," she murmured. Zax nodded, his expression troubled. "They're using very advanced tracking technology," he observed. "Possibly reverse-engineered from my ship's wreckage. We can't outrun them forever." Sarah's mind raced, considering their options. They needed a plan, and fast. As she scanned the barn's interior, her eyes fell on an old, dusty tarp covering what appeared to be a vehicle of some kind. Curious, she approached and pulled the tarp aside. A slow smile spread across her face as she revealed a battered but serviceable motorcycle. "Zax," she called ex-Italis and enemies. The motorcycle roared to life, its engine sputtering and coughing before settling into a steady rumble. Sarah grinned, her hands expertly coaxing the old machine back from the brink of death. Zax watched in amazement, once again struck by the human ability to breathe life into forgotten relics. "Your resourcefulness never ceases to amaze me," Zax said, his voice tinged with admiration. Sarah chuckled as she swung her leg over the seat. "Hop on, spaceman. We've got a long ride ahead of us." As they burst out of the barn, the cool morning air whipped past them. Sarah expertly guided the motorcycle down winding back roads, avoiding main thoroughfares where they might be spotted. Zax clung tightly to her waist, his enhanced senses on high alert for any sign of pursuit. Their destination was a secluded research facility nestled in the mountains, run by Sarah's old mentor, Dr. Elena Rossi. If anyone could help them, it would be Elena. The brilliant physicist had always been open-minded about the possibility of extraterrestrial life, and she had the resources and connections to potentially keep them safe. As they wound their way up into the mountains, the scenery grew increasingly rugged and wild. Steep cliffs and dense forests surrounded them, offering natural protection from prying eyes. But just as Sarah began to relax, thinking they might have finally shaken their pursuers, disaster struck. A sleek black drone suddenly appeared overhead. Its cameras locked onto them. Sarah cursed, pushing the motorcycle to its limits as she swerved to avoid the device's tracking lasers. "Zax," she shouted over the roar of the engine. "Can you do anything about that thing?" Zax's eyes narrowed as he focused on the drone. Drawing on knowledge from his own world, he reached out with his mind, attempting to interface with the machine's systems. To his surprise and delight, he found he could sense its electronic pathways, almost like neural connections. With a burst of mental energy, Zax sent a surge of conflicting commands to the drone. The device wobbled in the air, its lights flickering erratically before it plummeted to the ground in a shower of sparks. "Ha!" Sarah crowed triumphantly. "Take that, you high-tech vultures." Their victory was short-lived, however. As they rounded a sharp bend, they found the road blocked by a military-style checkpoint. Armed men in black tactical gear stood ready, their weapons trained on the approaching motorcycle. Sarah's mind raced. There was no way to turn back without being caught. They would have to bluff their way through somehow. As they slowed to a stop, she whispered urgently to Zax, "Follow my lead, and whatever happens, don't let them see anything alien about you." Putting on her best confused tourist face, Sarah approached the checkpoint. "What's going on, officers? Is there some kind of emergency?" The lead agent, a stern-faced man with close-cropped grey hair, stepped forward. "Ma'am, this area is restricted due to a national security threat. I'm going to need to see some identification." Sarah's heart pounded as she fumbled for the fake ID they had prepared. She prayed it would hold up under scrutiny. As the agent examined it, his eyes narrowed suspiciously. Just when it seemed their ruse would be discovered, chaos erupted. A blinding flash of light filled the sky, accompanied by a deafening boom that shook the ground beneath their feet. Everyone, human and alien alike, instinctively ducked for cover. When the light faded and the dust settled, Sarah looked up to see a sight that took her breath away. Hovering above them was a massive spacecraft, its sleek design clearly of alien origin. It was similar to Zax's scout ship, but on a much grander scale. A hatch opened in the ship's underside, and a beam of shimmering energy enveloped Sarah and Zax. Before the stunned agents could react, the pair found themselves being drawn upward into the vessel. As they materialized inside a vast, gleaming chamber, Sarah turned to Zax in confusion. "What's happening? Is this your people?" Zax shook his head, his expression a mixture of awe and trepidation. "No," he said softly. "This is something else entirely." A tall, willowy figure stepped forward from the shadows. Its form was vaguely humanoid, but with an ethereal quality that seemed to shimmer and shift. When it spoke, the words seemed to form directly in Sarah and Zax's minds. "Greetings, children of Earth and Zorax," the being said, its mental voice resonating with ancient wisdom. "We are the Guardians, and we have been watching your journey with great interest." Sarah's scientific mind whirled with questions, but before she could voice any of them, the Guardian continued. "Your alliance, born of compassion and curiosity, represents a crucial turning point in the development of both your species. We have intervened because the choices you make in the coming days will shape the future of galactic civilization." Zax stepped forward, his eyes wide with recognition. "The Guardians, I thought you were just a legend, stories told to young ones." The ethereal being's form rippled in what might have been amusement. "We are very real, young Zoraxian. And now, you and your human friend face a great test." The forces that pursue you seek to exploit alien technology for their own gain, potentially unleashing terrible weapons upon the galaxy. Sarah felt the weight of responsibility settling on her shoulders. "What can we do?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. The Guardian's form solidified slightly, taking on a more defined shape. "You must find a way to bridge the gap between your peoples, to show that cooperation and understanding are possible. Only then can Earth take its place among the stars without repeating the mistakes of so many other young civilizations." As the implications of the Guardian's words sank in, Sarah and Zax exchanged a determined look. They had started this journey as fugitives, but now they found themselves at the center of a cosmic drama, with the fate of two worlds hanging in the balance. The Guardian gestured, and a shimmering portal appeared in the air beside them. "We cannot interfere directly, but we can offer you a chance. This gateway will take you to a place where you can make a difference. The choice to step through is yours." Sarah took a deep breath, then reached for Zax's hand. Together, they stepped towards the portal, ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead. As the shimmering energy enveloped them, Sarah couldn't help but smile. In that moment, she knew that no matter what happened, humanity's greatest adventure was just beginning. A new understanding. The world rematerialized around Sarah and Zax in a dizzying swirl of light and color. As their vision cleared, they found themselves standing in what appeared to be a vast underground complex. Sleek metal walls curved overhead, dotted with pulsing lights and strange alien symbols. "Where are we?" Sarah whispered, her voice filled with awe. Zax's eyes widened as he took in their surroundings. This is impossible," he breathed. "We're in the central hub of the Galactic Council." Before Sarah could ask for clarification, a door slid open nearby, revealing a diverse group of beings. Some were clearly alien, with forms that defied human imagination. Others looked surprisingly human-like, though with subtle differences that marked them as not of Earth. Tall, regal-looking being with iridescent scales and 4 arms stepped forward. "Welcome, representatives of Earth and Zorax," it said, its voice a melodious trill. "I am High Counselor Paxtora. We have been expecting you." Sarah's scientific mind raced to process everything she was seeing and hearing. "Expecting us? But how? And why are we here?" Sarah's multifaceted eyes sparkled with what might have been amusement. The Guardians work in mysterious ways, but their interventions are never without purpose. You stand at a crossroads, not just for your own species, but for the entire galaxy. Over the next few hours, Sarah and Zax were given a crash course in galactic politics and history. They learned that the Galactic Council had been watching Earth's development for centuries, waiting for the right moment to make contact. Zax's crash landing and his subsequent bond with Sarah had accelerated the timeline dramatically. "Your friendship," Sarah explained, "represents a unique opportunity. Earth stands on the brink of a great leap forward, but it could go either way. Your planet could become a shining example of interspecies cooperation, or it could fall into the trap of fear and aggression that has doomed so many young civilizations." Sarah felt the weight of responsibility settling on her shoulders. "But what can we do? We're just 2 individuals against entire governments and deeply ingrained prejudices." A holographic display flickered to life, showing scenes from Earth's history. Moments of great scientific achievement stood alongside images of war and environmental destruction. "Humans are capable of both great good and terrible evil," Tahira said softly. "But what sets your species apart is your adaptability, your creativity in the face of adversity. We believe that with the right guidance, humanity could become a powerful force for positive change in the galaxy." Zax nodded, his expression thoughtful. "I've seen it firsthand," he said. "The way Sarah risked everything to help me, a complete stranger. It's a kind of compassion my people have all but forgotten in our pursuit of technological perfection." As they delved deeper into discussions with the council members, Sarah and Zax began to formulate a plan. They would return to Earth, not as fugitives, but as ambassadors. With the backing of a galactic council, they would work to gradually introduce humanity to the wider cosmic community. But it wouldn't be easy. There were factions on Earth that would resist, clinging to power and old ways of thinking. And not everyone in the galaxy was happy about welcoming a new, unpredictable species into the fold. As they prepared to return to Earth, armed with advanced technology and the support of their new alien allies, Sarah turned to Zax. "Are you ready for this?" she asked, a mix of excitement and trepidation in her voice. "We're about to change the course of human history." Zax smiled, his now human features softening with affection. "I'm ready for anything, as long as we face it together," he said. "You've shown me the best of what humanity has to offer. Now it's time to show the rest of the galaxy." With a flash of light, they vanished from the Galactic Council chamber, reappearing in a busy city square on Earth. As people began to notice the strange arrivals and their alien companions, Sarah took a deep breath and stepped forward. "People of Earth," she began, her voice amplified by advanced technology, "I bring you a message of hope and a vision of a future beyond our wildest dreams." As Sarah spoke, holographic displays flickered to life around the square, showing images of alien worlds, advanced technologies, and the vast wonders of the cosmos. The crowd watched in stunned silence, their worldview expanding with each passing moment. Zack stood by Sarah's side, a living example of the friendship possible between species. As the initial shock wore off, questions began to pour in from the gathered crowd and from media outlets quickly arriving on the scene. Over the following weeks and months, Sarah and Zax worked tirelessly to bridge the gap between Earth and the galactic community. There were setbacks and challenges, moments of fear and distrust to overcome. But slowly, surely, humanity began to embrace its place among the stars. New technologies transformed life on Earth, solving problems of energy, hunger, and disease that had plagued humanity for millennia. The spirit of exploration that had driven humans to the moon now propelled them to distant worlds. Years later, as the first human colony ships prepared to depart for alien worlds, Sarah and Zax stood hand in hand, watching the launch from a view screen on the International Space Station. "I still can't quite believe how far we've come," Sarah mused, her eyes shining with unshed tears of joy. Zax squeezed her hand gently. "Humanity's greatest strength has always been its ability to come together and overcome seemingly insurmountable odds," he said. "You've proven yourselves worthy of joining the galactic community, and I'm honored to have played a small part in that journey." As the colony ships disappeared into the depths of space, carrying with them the hopes and dreams of two worlds, Sarah and Zax knew that this was just the beginning. The universe was vast and full of wonders, and humanity was finally ready to take its place among the stars. The story of the unlikely friendship between a human scientist and a crashed alien scout had blossomed into something far greater, a testament to the power of compassion, curiosity, and the unyielding human spirit. And as Earth took its first steps into a larger universe, the galaxy watched with bated breath, wondering what marvels this young, ambitious species would achieve next. The cosmic revolution. As Earth embraced its new role in the galactic community, an unprecedented era of innovation and discovery dawned. Sarah and Zax found themselves at the forefront of a cosmic revolution, their unique partnership serving as a beacon of hope for interspecies collaboration. The world watched in awe as the first public demonstrations of alien technology took place. In a historic event broadcasted globally, Sarah and Zax unveiled a device that could manipulate gravity itself. The implications were staggering, from revolutionizing transportation to enabling the construction of megastructures that defied conventional engineering. "Today, we stand on the precipice of a new age," Sarah announced to the captivated audience. "An age where the impossible becomes possible, where the dreams of science fiction become our new reality." Zax stepped forward, his human disguise shed to reveal his true Zoroastrian form. The gasps from the crowd quickly turned to murmurs of fascination as he began to speak. "My friends, the universe is vast and filled with wonders beyond imagination. But what truly sets humanity apart is your insatiable curiosity, your drive to explore and understand. It is this quality that has earned you a place among the stars. As the gravity manipulation device activated, objects around the stage began to float gently. Children in the audience squealed with delight as their parents' jaws dropped in disbelief. This was more than just a technological demonstration. It was a paradigm shift in human understanding of the universe. But not everyone welcomed these rapid advancements. A movement known as Earth First gained traction, advocating for isolation from alien influence. They argued that humanity was losing its identity, becoming too dependent on extraterrestrial technology. Sarah and Zax knew they had to address these concerns head-on. They embarked on a global tour, hosting town halls and open forums where people could voice their fears and ask questions directly. At one particularly tense meeting in a small Midwestern town, a farmer stood up, his voice trembling with emotion. "How do we know these aliens won't just conquer us once we've let our guard down? How can we trust them?" Zack stepped forward, his alien features softening with empathy. "Your caution is understandable," he said gently. "But consider this, my people have had the capability to conquer Earth for centuries. Instead, we waited, we watched, hoping you would join us as equals. The galaxy is not a place of conquest, but of cooperation. Only together can we face the true challenges that lie ahead." Sarah nodded, adding, "Change is always scary. But remember, every great leap in human history was met with fear at first. The Industrial Revolution, the digital age, they all transformed society. This is no different. We're not losing our humanity, we're expanding it to encompass the cosmos." As weeks turned to months, and months to years, the benefits of galactic integration became increasingly apparent. Clean, unlimited energy solved Earth's climate crisis virtually overnight. Nanotechnology eradicated diseases that had plagued humanity for millennia. Virtual reality systems, powered by alien quantum computers, revolutionized education, allowing people to experience history firsthand or explore the far reaches of the universe from their living rooms. But perhaps the most profound change came in the form of the cosmic internet, an instantaneous communication network that spanned the galaxy. Suddenly, humans could converse in real time with beings from civilizations millions of light-years away. The exchange of ideas, art, and culture flourished on an unprecedented scale. One day, as Sarah and Zax watched the sunset from the observation deck of the newly constructed space elevator, a group of schoolchildren approached them. One young girl, her eyes wide with wonder, asked, "What's the coolest thing about being friends with an alien?" Sarah laughed, exchanging a fond look with Zax. "You know, it's not about the cool technology or the amazing sights we've seen. It's about realizing that no matter how different we may seem on the outside, we all share the same fundamental desires: to learn, to grow, to connect with others." Zax nodded, adding, "And to eat ice cream. That's definitely a universal constant." The children giggled, and in that moment, Sarah realized how far they'd come. The fear and mistrust that had initially greeted Zack's arrival had given way to curiosity and acceptance. Humanity was growing up, taking its first tentative steps as a true galactic civilization. As night fell and the stars began to twinkle overhead, Sarah and Zax knew their work was far from over. There were still challenges to face, new frontiers to explore, but they were no longer alone. Earth had found its place in the cosmic community, and the future stretched out before them, infinite in its possibilities. "You know," Sarah mused, her eyes fixed on the starry expanse above, "I used to think the night sky was beautiful. But now that I know what's out there, now that I've seen it firsthand, it's not just beautiful, it's home." Zack squeezed her hand gently. "Home," he repeated, the word filled with meaning. "I think I'm starting to understand that concept a little better now." As they stood there, a human and an alien united in friendship, they embodied the very best of what both their species had to offer. And somewhere out in the vast cosmic ocean, new adventures awaited, promising to push the boundaries of what was possible when two worlds came together as one. The cosmic revolution had begun, and humanity would never be the same again.